Welcome, everybody, to the Impact Wrestling Press Pass podcast. We have a stacked podcast here today. A little bit down the road, we're going to bring in our main event for our 20th anniversary. It'll be defending champion Josh Alexander taking on challenger and former champion Eric Young. But first, as we take this drive to Slammiversary together, there is no person I would like to share this ride with more than the EVP of Impact Wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Scott D'Amore. Scott, welcome on in.
Hey, thanks, D'Lo. I mean, if there's one person that I've spent enough hours on a road with going down a highway, it's you. And no matter what route we're taking, we got to go through Lima, Ohio to that Pizza Hut buffet and sit there long enough to have the lunch, drink iced tea until we have the dinner, too, because we're too damn broke to have anything else to eat that day.
At this point, we're too damn cheap.
Great to be here, man.
I'm glad to have you here with us today. And look, it is a special event this Sunday, Slammiversary, 20 years of Impact Wrestling. You've been around for a lot of those years. Right off the bat, give me your thoughts on what Slammiversary means to you.
Man, Slammiversary every year has been a celebration. I was there that first year. I think you were as well, D'Lo, at the Asylum, the very grounds we're returning to now 20 years later. And this year, uniquely special because it's not just a celebration of overcoming the odds and being here like it has been so many years. It's 20 freaking years. It's one of the longest running national companies in the history of our industry. It's one of the longest running television shows in the history of television. You know, it's unbelievable. Who would have ever thought they proclaimed, TNA wrestling in the early days dead before it started, and then after 6 weeks, and was never going to last a year. And then, God bless him, Uncle Dave Meltzer. I remember in 2005 when I was taking over steering the ship the first time, I saw that his headline, like the first line was, by the time you read this, TNA wrestling will be out of business. And thankfully him and everybody else was wrong. Here we are. We returned to Nashville to, not the exact same building because it's gone, but to the grounds where that Asylum was, where we had so many amazing memory in those early days. And we're going there 20 years later, still celebrating some of the innovation and some of the history and some of the current as well as future moments we're going to be making an impact for a long time to come.
And speaking of that, you've been around for a lot of these and 20 years. Are there any moments that jump out to you in the history of this company that you had that special fondness for? I know Team Canada sits close to your heart.
Yeah, I mean, look, Team Canada, obviously, with that group of guys, I mean, that was as talented a group as there's ever been. And the thing I always say that one of my favorite parts about Team Canada is it really was a team. And it really was, I mean, almost a family. Like, everybody looked out for each other. Like, it wasn't two people thrown together. It was a group that came up together in Canada, through Border City Wrestling and all the other groups up here in Ontario, Canada, that really forged a true bond and got to experience so many amazing moments together. And, you go back to the first Bound for Glory where Rhino, won a Monsters Ball, a gauntlet for the gold, and defeated Jeff Jarrett for the World's Championship. You talk about that first world title win for AJ Styles right there, on these grounds in Nashville that we're going to be on. It's that night that Raven showed up. It was the tanks in that video that brought out a debuting D'Lo Brown so many years ago. There's just so much of it, and we celebrate a lot of it here this year, right? Like we, King of the Mountain, for better or worse than some people's opinions, and they vary, has been a huge part of this company. And now it's our Knockouts chance to go out there and work the way through these rules. And we're having the first ever Queen of the Mountain. We're having Ultimate X, which is one of the biggest staples of this company. I mean, it's the one match that exists in Impact Wrestling and really nowhere else. It's our creation and it's our baby. It's the fact, hey, like I tweeted out the other day, if you're going to celebrate 20 years, you celebrate it all. And that's why we're doing a reverse battle royal. Is anyone sitting here telling you that reverse battle royal was one of the greatest things we ever did? No, we're actually saying, hey, look, sometimes if you're going to swing for the fences, you're going to strike the F out. So let's have a little fun. Like those moments, sometimes, as you know, D'Lo, those tough moments are as memorable as those great moments. And they all come together to form, a rich history of this company.
Without the moments you cringe at, the moments you smile and glee for don't happen, or you don't have appreciation for them. So, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the reverse battle royal, because I was sure as hell about to bring that up.
Right. And the thing is, as ridiculous and idiotic the concept may be, I'll tell you what, it didn't seem any more ridiculous than when we first talked about Ultimate X. And talking about Ultimate X, it was just,
True.
Jeff just kept going, we're going to do what? And it was like, I was like, oh man, this may be the worst thing we've ever done. And then the fact that we couldn't figure out how to build the frickin' thing the day of. Like, it was literally up to an hour before the show where we finally got the structure right. Like, what type of dumb Fs go out there and make this match, promote it, and don't even know how to build the damn structure? Like, those were the early days of this company. And, it worked. Now we have a match that hit, and it's amazing, and it's the staple of our X division, which is one of the staples of our company.
And it's amazing how serendipity happens, because Impact Wrestling has always been a trailblazer in the things they've done. You've mentioned Ultimate X. You've mentioned the Knockouts being a focal point of not just a show, but main eventing a show and having their own standalone battle royal. These are the things that Impact Wrestling has brought to the wrestling world that is being copied by other companies around the world today.
Right. I mean, who else was going to give AJ Styles a chance to be phenomenal? Who else was going to take an insecure, monster, of Abyss, who is, in real life is just a big lumbering sweetheart of a passionate guy with a love for wrestling, and going to craft through all of his idiosyncrasies to help, him become what he should be, which is an amazing performer. And that continues through today. And you look at some of the people on our roster, whether it's, Speedball Mike Bailey, who's a complete next level weirdo, or whether it's Josh Alexander, who, looks like somebody just shot his dog every time you look at him, or whatever it is, like, these people come here and they flourish because they get to be the best them, and they don't have people telling them that they can't. They have people giving them an opportunity to do. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that Impact Wrestling has had, and that's why I'm excited here as we head into Slammiversary.
Well, I mean, I think that's a great note to kind of wrap this up on. Maybe I have one more follow-up question, and that is, so many people have been given an opportunity. So many people have been given a chance where maybe somewhere else they didn't get that same opportunity, and they've come to Impact Wrestling and flourished. And we got two of them waiting in the wings right now, of people who have been given an opportunity to take full advantage of it. How does that make you feel as the EVP of all this when you see a talent and you give them that opportunity and they just hit the ball out of the damn park?
Yeah, I mean, as a coach, which is what I always am at my core, and as a teacher, I think it's amazing to be able to give people opportunities, and then it's up to them. You task them with going out there and doing it. You can do everything to support them, but ultimately it's on them. So everybody who goes out there and succeeds on their own, just with the support and the opportunity being given to them. And our main event here at Slammiversary for the Impact World Championship are two people that completely encompass that philosophy, and are two people who personally I've been as close to as just about anybody in this industry. You've got Eric Young, who I've known from when he was literally, a kid. And to watch him come up in wrestling, like seeing him on indies and being, oh, he's a good indie wrestler. Oh, like maybe he'll do something to be like, oh, frick, like this guy is a world champion multiple times over, and as well-rounded and as underrated a wrestler as I think there's ever been. And then Josh Alexander. And I mean, books could be written, and movies, will be written or, and produced about Josh's life and what he's done from, his story has been documented from an insecure, overweight kid to an aspiring wrestler who had it all ripped out of his hands, through injury and circumstance, and to find his way back, not just, to being able to do his passion, but to be arguably the very best at it in this sport. So it's two unbelievable athletes. It's two people that, as great as they are as athletes, despite Eric Young's crappy attitude sometimes and slapping me around once in a while, which I don't really like. Two people that have just, have a body of work that shows that they're the type of individuals that should be in this business and make this industry as great as it is. And I'm excited to watch them take center stage in the 20th anniversary of this company and go out there and just rock the house like everybody else from top to bottom will.
Well, Scott, I appreciate you joining me on Press Pass here today, and I say this from everyone else. I can't wait to see you Sunday. I can't wait for Slammiversary. I can't wait for number 20. This is going to be an incredible weekend.
Hey, and while we're here, I got one last thing, and this is just to talk about the early days. I found this picture, so I made it my screensaver. How about that?
Look at that!
I've been popping people with that as my Zoom screensaver. I try to switch it up all the time, and that's the current one. So, that kid's kind of done okay for himself, too.
That kid's got legs. He can run in this business a little bit.
He might be all right. You better recognize it.
Well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate you, and we're going to keep going on rolling here with Press Pass. Thank you, Scott.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, EVP Scott Demore, thank you for having me. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do this here is we're going to start this Press Pass. If you have questions, please virtually raise your hand in the chat room and then direct who you want the question to. As I start this, I'm going to bring in Eric Young and Josh Alexander. I'll let them both have an opening statement, and then I will direct a question or two to each one of them, and then I'll open up to the panelists. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to bring in the challenger for the Impact World Championship this Sunday at Slammiversary. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Eric Young. Eric, welcome to Press Pass.
Yeah, thanks for having me, D'Lo. It's been a long road, 20-year anniversary. My story is not that long, but pretty much that long. Been a member of this roster for a long time. Had a lot of special moments on Slammiversary, and on June 19th, the 20th year, it'll be a flag. It'll be a flag bearer for me. It'll be one for the ages, and maybe my most memorable of all time.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. I know I'm the man who's looking forward to looking across the ring at you. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the Impact World's Champion, Josh Alexander. Josh,
hey, D'Lo. Thank you.
Hey, man. How you feeling today?
I'm very happy to be here. I get to talk about wrestling. I get to talk about Impact Wrestling because, I've documented it many times. My relationship with this company started on my couch as a fan, June 19th, 2002, ordering this on pay-per-view as a 15-year-old kid, man. It ignited my passion for this business. And now, in a roundabout way, 20 years later, both me and Eric Young have traveled different paths, but we're converging for the first time this Sunday at Slammiversary, and I think we're going to make history. I'm just pumped.
Now, let me direct this question to Eric Young. Eric, as you know, Impact Wrestling has had many lives, incarnations in its 20 years, and so have you. Your character, your person, your professional wrestling life has gone on a journey. Kind of walk me through and document who Eric Young was the first time he walked through an Impact Wrestling door compared to who he's going to be this Sunday walking through an Impact Wrestling door.
I think the Eric Young that walked through the doors, the first time at the fairgrounds and pulling up to the building and being like, this is where the pay-per-view is, and seeing the building for the first time and going in and being like, man, it's way smaller than it looks on TV, and where all the guys got changed, and just how kind of like very thrown together it felt, but how exciting the energy was, and watching all the guys and girls like put things together, and how passionate the energy was and who it was. And for me, like, I feel like I'm a very similar version. I would say I'm a much better version, a much more confident version of who I was. But even at that point, 2004, I knew that I was good at this. I knew it in my core. I knew it in my bones. And I'm not very good at anything else, but pro wrestling I can do. And my career is, she's taken some turns and some dips, and like anything, especially anything that's rewarding, like you got to taste that sour sometimes for the sweet to really come through. And I think Josh would agree. And, our paths started at different times, and, we have never shared a ring somehow. It will be
That's
the first
crazy in
time,
itself.
first time one-on-one will be at Slammiversary on June 19th. And I would say that, for all of our differences, there are a lot of similarities too, both, growing up in the same area, aspiring to do the same thing, being, kind of short, chubby kids, and, maybe not the best athletes or the most popular people or whatever the case may be. And here we are, two short, chubby kids from Southwestern Ontario about to show the world what we're all about. And I'm not going to speak for him. I'm going to speak for myself. Is you will get the best version of me ever on June 19th. And there will be no question at the end that I am world class, that I deserve to be exactly where I am. And I deserve to be a world champion. I can be a world champion, and the effort will be world champion like. And there will be no doubting that everything was left in that ring in Nashville, Tennessee on June 19th.
Well, there's one thing I know about you is that you're going to bring your A game on Sunday, and Josh has got to have his hands full. But then I go back to the fact that you guys have both been in this business a long time. You both grew up near each other, and you've never been in the ring with each other. That is amazing, considering how small this industry is. I mean, you get guys who grow up that close to each other to have never touched in the ring. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a classic this Sunday. Josh, I'll come over to you now. You said that you fell in love with Impact Wrestling sitting on your couch, and it's always important to go into the biggest pay-per-view of the year as the world champion, but you have this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go into the 20th anniversary as the world's champion. Give me that thought.
The easiest way to wrap it up is like I gotta stop and pinch myself every once in a while, because a lot of people lose sight of what they were when they get to the level that I'm at now. I think you see a lot of world champions, a lot of people that, get a certain amount of notoriety in this business. They might lose a piece of themselves along the way. And I've really tried to stay grounded this entire time. I have help from my wife and my family to do that. But for me, it's just how shocked, how insanely excited that 15-year-old kid would have been to know that this is what will happen 20 years later. That's crazy to me. That's a crazy thought. And it doesn't matter what show I'm on, who I'm wrestling, how many people are there, the stakes there are there. It doesn't matter. You're always going to get the same Josh Alexander in the ring every time, because I don't feel like I want to ever give anything less than that. So I was very happy to hear Eric Young say that he's going to do the same, because that's the Eric Young I want to be in the ring with at Slammiversary for the 20-year anniversary. That's the Eric Young I want to main event against. That's the Eric Young I want challenging for this championship, because win, lose, or draw, I need the very best in the ring against me at Slammiversary. And I have no doubt that's what I'm going to get with Eric Young after he said that.
No, iron sharpens iron, and I know you two will have one hell of a match. So now I have talked way too much here. It is time for me to open it up to the panelists. Once again, virtually raise your hand in the chat room and let me know who you're directing your question to, and I will get right to you. And my first question coming up is Count Out with Mike and Taylor. Gentlemen, welcome in. What's your question and who you got it for?
Hey guys, can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. D'Lo, thank you so much. Just before I ask my questions, I can see your shirt and the Count It Out podcast. We do recognize much respect for everything you've done in the business, sir.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
So I have a quick question for both you guys. Josh, I'll start with you. First things first, congratulations on your new championship win. Now that you are the world champion in one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world with 20 years of history behind it, how much pressure and responsibility are you putting on yourself to be a leader in the company and help the growth of the viewership? Are you looking at TV and pay-per-view numbers a little bit differently now, or are you just kind of going business as usual and letting your in-ring work continue to speak for itself?
I mean, I certainly feel the pressure as like the acting figurehead, as the world champion, as the first person people look to for all those things. But it's honestly, it's out of my control. I can only control what I can control. And that's what I do in that ring. That's what I do on television week in, week out. And that's why I said earlier with D'Lo, like every time I step in the ring, you're going to get the same Josh Alexander. You're going to get 100% of everything I have, all the effort, everything, every time. And I think that's why I'm in the position I'm in now. I think I'm a world champion because I'm so dependable and I'm so consistent and all those other things. But like I said, those other things are out of my control.
Perfect. And Eric, real quick for you, with the success of Violent by Design over the last couple of years, it speaks for itself. You can really feel the passion and the believability in what you three are doing. I was wondering if you could kind of take us back to the creative origins for Violent by Design, and just was this an idea that you always had? How hands-on have you been with the creative, and what's your experience creatively with Impact Wrestling compared to other places that you may have worked in the past?
Violent by Design, I mean, obviously, I think anything in wrestling that's successful, it's a collaboration, right? It's not one person's idea or, a single person dictating. I think all the best stuff is done collaboratively, and VBD was definitely done collaboratively. There was lots of discussions about who would it be and who would be in the group and what I thought was right. And, very hands-on with Scott and all the people in management of, the picking the music and the vignettes that Eric Tompkins and Dave Zahadi, the ideas that they had and the verbiage, all the creative side. And that's, for me, is the biggest drug in wrestling. Obviously the big being performing in the ring, like that's an irreplaceable drug to me. It can't be duplicated, but the creative side of it has always been my favorite part. For lack of a different word, is manipulating people and convincing them that this is the person that I am and this is what I believe. And I think me and Joe and Cody and the entire team at Impact have done a really good job. VBD is a huge part of the show, has been a huge part of the show from day one, and will continue to be. And for me, I mean, it is selfish, but the honest truth is I feel like we're just scratching the surface with what it can be. And the idea behind it, and we've touched on it some of the origin story and what it's really about, and it can go as deep as we want it to, and that's what's exciting to me. And obviously, being in a group with two people that you love and respect. Cody Deaner I've known for well over 20 years, and Joe I've known for a long time as well. I can remember him first coming around BCW, working shows for Scott years and years ago, and obviously not as close with him as I am with Cody, but Joe has quickly become one of my favorite people in the world, one of my favorite wrestlers in the world. And I get to stand ringside and watch him just do things that nobody else is doing, with a physical style that nobody else is doing, and just a way of being that can't be duplicated. So it's a really cool point in my career. And I said this in an interview earlier today, is I'm having the most fun I've ever had in wrestling ever. And Scott Demore and the staff and Anthem Sports have created a very special place. And I'm not, again, trying to talk for Josh, but I know I've read and seen things that he's saying, and he's just signed a new contract and is here full time because of this environment. And it is singular. And I've worked in a lot of places, and I can tell you it is not like this anywhere else. And the grass is not greener on the other side. I'm just ultra proud and ultra happy to be exactly where I am.
I appreciate the time, guys. As someone who's a Toronto boy through and through, I've watched both you guys my entire life growing up. Can't wait for the show on Sunday. You're doing all of us proud in Ontario, especially representing coming up through the indie scene. So thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much, guys. And we are going on to our next question. Sam Smith from Soundsphere. Sam, how are you doing? Welcome to Press Pass, and who's your question for?
My question is for EY. And on the subject of Violent by Design, what happens if you win? What about Joe and Cody? Will they be the first guys who get an opportunity at that title? And are you a little bit worried about that?
I mean, Violent by Design is, first and foremost is a family, and we said this when we worked with the Briscoes, and we had matches with the Briscoes. Is they're a family by circumstance. They were born brothers. They had no say. They had no choice. And I think a lot of times that's what family is. And it's not always good just because you're blood. The truth is Joe and Cody are my chosen family. And I feel like, obviously, becoming world champion again is my number one goal. Having that power and control is Violent by Design's number one control. And there's no better way to have power and control than holding the world championship. So, yeah, I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I know they'll have my back just like they would have my back.
I hope you're right. I've been watching wrestling a long time. Thank you very much. Anyway,
Appreciate it.
And I always say that it's a stronger bond when you're with your chosen family as opposed to sometimes your blood family, because you're making the choice to be together, and that's what makes Violent by Design so dangerous. Our next question comes from Bill Pritchard from WrestleZone. Bill, welcome in. Who's your question for? And go ahead and shoot it off.
Hey guys, I actually have a question for both Josh and EY. There's been a lot of Bret Hart appreciation going on lately. Seems like there always is, but more than ever in the past few weeks and months by various talent. Do you guys have anything that maybe you study from his work as, two fellow Canadians that maybe you want to work into, whether it's this match coming up or just something that, you pick up on the nuance that you have a greater appreciation for now?
Yeah, I'll start, I guess. For me, I mean, Bret Hart is one of the, the best storytellers that this business has ever seen. I think he's, a top 3, if not top 5 wrestler of all time. And in the end, it's pro wrestling is art and it's subjective, and everyone's going to have their own choices and their own things. But I think anybody that's done it at any level can fully appreciate and understand really how amazing he was, and he had this innate ability that he had the whole world convinced that he's the best technical wrestler in the world. And he's this, just this technician, and he did 5 things, I mean, in the end, he did 4 or 5 things. He had all these amazing ways of going in and out of them and these amazing transitions. But what, to me, that Bret was the best at was his physical storytelling. And part of the business that I think is, not lost, but does take a back seat now. And it will never take a back seat for me. I still believe it is the first and foremost. Physicality is a tool, but in the end, we're telling a story. And I mean, to me, the physicality of Bret and his ability to convince you who he was and what he was trying to convince the world was, he had everyone, me included, convinced that he was that guy. And he was convinced he was the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And the love for him is warranted, is earned, and he's one of the best to ever do it. So to me, I don't, the physicality side and, moves that he does are not things that I do, but something I took from him, from watching him from a very young age, was everything he did, he made sure it was the best. And he wasn't going to do anything unless it was the best. He had the best backbreaker. He had the best regular suplex. He had the best, turnbuckles. He had the best, whatever it was that he was going to do, he did it at the highest level. And he never shows you anything but that. And that comes with experience, and that comes with passion. And Bret had them both.
And I find myself to be very lucky that I was born in Canada, because when I discovered pro wrestling, I had to go to a video store and rent videotapes. And when I did, and you watch the entrance the first time Bret Hart comes out, I still remember from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And the second they said Canada, I was just like, oh, this guy's Canadian just like me. And you know what? He just went under a microscope for me as like a 10-year-old kid. So I've been able to study Bret Hart ever since I was 10 years old. And I did so because of that instant bond, because he was Canadian, right? And thankfully, because he was one of the best of all time. And EY just summed it up perfectly. He was fundamentally sound at every single thing he did, as was pretty much anybody that came out of the dungeon. I think that's why Canadian wrestling has such a rich history of being so good. But he was also one of the best storytellers. And like the match that I've watched probably 1,000 times, it's probably his most popular match, is him and Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. And just the ability to be so physical and cut a pace like they did while telling this amazing story the entire time sums up what I think Bret Hart is.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. And you know what? I could wax poetically about Bret Hart as well, and EY summed up the best. Bret Hart had the 5 moves of doom. And that's all he had. But you know what? He did them so perfectly that it didn't matter. He only had 5 moves. He was just technically perfect in everything he did. So that's just my little 2 cents. Now let's take this rest around the world. Let's go over to a place that I have a good fond memory in my heart with. Let's go over to Germany. Let's go over to Stefan over at Wrestling Info. Stefan, welcome in. And who's your question for?
Hey, thank you for having me. I hope you guys can hear me. My first question is for Josh. Your first reign with the title didn't last that long, but now you've proven yourself to be the face of the company. How does that feel?
I mean, it feels great. It feels like mission accomplished. I could have left Bound for Glory. That thing with Moose could have never happened, and I would have been world champion, and people would have recognized me for what I think got me there was just my ability to produce in the ring with whoever I'm in the ring with, on any given night. And the thing that benefited me with the way it happened and not like earning my way back over the next 7 months from that occurrence is that people got to know me and the character of me and like my family and all this other stuff. So they got to invest in me more. So now winning the championship, it felt even sweeter. And now it's just about building on, going down in the history books beside some of the great world champions. And I mean, there's no better way to do that than this Sunday at Slammiversary.
And I got a second question for both of you. The clash between you feels like a battle through time with Eric Young as an Impact legend and Josh Alexander, who embodies the future of the company. So it seems like a battle worthy for the 20th anniversary of Impact Wrestling. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think fate's got a funny way of dictating our life, and I've got the word fate tattooed underneath my right arm. It's something, a word that means a lot to me, and I good, bad, or indifferent. Like I always believe I'm kind of exactly where I'm supposed to be. And June 19th in Nashville, Tennessee, main eventing for one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world against a guy that I respect as long as the day is, and in totality, like it's unbelievable that we've never wrestled one-on-one, but I'm looking forward at the opportunity and the responsibility of that position. And like you said, again, like I said earlier in the call, is storytelling is number one. And this, without us touching at all, is an amazing story. Whether it has history elements, it has real world elements, it has the fact that we're born and raised in the same place. Our start in the business was almost identical. Our paths to where we ended up here on June 19th are completely different, but the work ethic and the sacrifice, all of that stuff is identical. And we have the same haircut too. So that's cool.
The same haircut out of necessity for me, at least.
Yes, I'm 42 and I'm bald. So good.
Yeah, like every interview I've done, I've been pretty much asked this question, and I've pretty much detailed it. Like EY embodies the first 20 years better than almost anybody on our roster currently. He's done everything there is to do here. He's a multi-time world champion, and me, while paying respect to the past because I was such a strong fan of it and I followed it the entire time, I do represent the present. And it's just Slammiversary, the main event, first time ever one-on-one, me and EY, past versus present, to find out who's carrying the title into the future. I think it sums up the pay-per-view perfectly.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I can't say it enough. Two highly professional. This is gonna. I can't say enough. It's gonna be special. No pressure, guys. I'm just being yelled at the officer. We have to get in the room. I've been informed. Let's try to limit. So as I pick you, let's just limit one question for our participants, and if we have time, we'll walk around again. Same let's get a question if you have it. So let's go over to France. Let's go over to Lucas at VL Media. Lucas, how you doing? The press pass. Question 4.
Thank you very much, Zilo. Hi, everyone. Hi, Josh. Hi, Eric. Always a pleasure to join those press pass talking to some of the others professional wrestlers in the world today. Slammiversary 2022 will celebrate the 20 years of Impact Wrestling, total non-stop action, whatever you want to call it. Since you're regarding your history with the promotion, I wanted to know what the Impact World Championship really mean to you, because you will fight for the highest price in the promotion. So what does that title, what does the promotion mean to you?
DUI.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's obviously prestige, obviously honor of carrying that. For me, it's Eric Young, the TV personality, will tell you power and control, and that's what it's about for Violent by Design. But Eric Young would tell you that it's the responsibility of it, and it's from the first time you win one, you understand the responsibility of it, and you understand the honor of carrying it. This is a $1 million company that's saying that you're the flagship, and that is an irreplaceable drug. That's the responsibility that I've been chasing from day one, and I think Josh would agree. I'm again not going to put words in his mouth, but if you got into wrestling not wanting to be the world champion, you're in it for the wrong reasons, or you're a liar. Did I think I was ever going to win one? It was never part of my goals. My only goal I ever set was to sign my first contract to tell people that I did this for a living. And I did that in 2004. And then the goal mutates. It's like, then I want to win a belt. Then it was tag belts. Then it was X Division. Then it was TV. Then it was King of the Mountain. Then it was Legends. Then it was Global. Then it was World. Then it was World again. Then it was Tag Team. It mutates. But the responsibility of it and it is what I crave the most. And I want whoever I'm working for to trust me and to lean on me, because that's when the pressure arrives, and that's when I'm at my best.
Yeah, I think EY's again summed it up almost like I would say it, like especially now, really being the first run holding this championship, the pressure that you feel is enormous, and it's kind of terrifying. And for me, since I started this journey in 2005 in pro wrestling, it's been all things that terrify me. No matter how big the goal, it was just the next step. That was the scary thing. It was all about me challenging myself to achieve that goal and push myself a little bit further, because there's a lot of people that can't handle the pressure. There's a lot of people that, regardless of how big the challenge is, they just buckle under the pressure and they can't achieve that. And for whatever reason, that's fine. But me, I get my juice out of challenging myself and pushing myself. And in addition to that, as world champion, it's the representation of this locker room that I take very seriously, because this locker room is like I've re-signed here for a reason, because I love this locker room. I think we all have a chip on our shoulder. I think we all go out there and bust our ass every single time as a unit, more so than anything else. And, many times in pro wrestling, this is a singular pursuit and people look at it very selfishly, but the Impact Wrestling roster is a team first and foremost. And to be able to represent them, I take, a lot of responsibility and honor in.
Thank you very much for your answer. Best of luck to you guys for this match, and congratulations, D'Lo, on doing an awesome job as a panelist. Thank you, guys.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's take a little trip across the English Channel, and let's go over to Kevin from Nerdly Out Loud. Kevin, how are you doing today?
All right, guys. How are you doing?
Very good.
First of all, massive congratulations to Impact on the 20-year anniversary coming up. Can't wait to see this. What I'm hoping is going to be an absolute clinic at Slammiversary with these two guys. My question's for EY, Eric Young. You've been in Impact TNA, all its forms, for a good long while. And you just mentioned there about being champion and having picked up all these belts along the way. But what has been the sweetest moment for you in your career in this company so far?
If I was to pick one, there's lots, and I just touched on it earlier. The thing I remember the most is signing my contract in the dark on Bobby Roode's back for the first time I could say I had a wrestling contract. It was for 4 events. It was for 4 shows for the World X Cup as Team Canada. And I didn't read it. I didn't look at it. I just flipped it to the last page where I was supposed to put my name and my date. I did that, and Bobby did the same, and we just went back to work. And here I am all these years later, 20 years later. Very few people, I think, probably, if you're going to ask me, and to be honest, I don't think I would have said it was going to be around for 20 years. I wanted it to be. I believe that it had the ability, but the truth was it's an impossible industry at times. And the fact that we're here 20 years, I'm wrestling a person in the main event for the ultimate prize in this company, a person I respect completely. threw in all the way with everything that he's accomplished. But I'm not going to take it easy. I want that power. I want that control. I want the responsibility. I want to be the person carrying this company into the future because I can, and nobody can convince me otherwise.
I want you to be that person too. Sorry, Josh, but I do. But before
I like that he whispered.
Before I head out as well, Eric, it's awesome to see you back in this company and see you doing what you do best. And I'm going to let you guys go and have an amazing show at Slammiversary in 4 days' time. I can't wait to see it.
Appreciate it, man.
And it is right around the corner. I mean, we've been building for this for months, and it doesn't seem like it's true that it's just 4 days away. And I mean, it's 20 years and it's down to 4 days, so I'm looking forward to it. So now we're going to stay here in the UK, go up to Scotland there, and talk to a good friend of mine, Lee, from Alive Radio. Lee, how are you doing? Welcome to the Press Pass. Lee, you there, good buddy? Hello. Okay.
Hello, sorry.
There we go.
Sorry, mate, sorry. I'm very excited heading into Slammiversary. If I can, I'd like to ask EY a question that was asked to me by one of my friends earlier this week. We're talking about the fact that this is 20 years of Impact Wrestling. It's outlasted ECW, it's outlasted WCW. And I got asked the question, what has Impact Wrestling got that many other people in the internet wrestling community, when this started 20 years ago, said it wouldn't last 20 minutes, let alone 20 years. To me, it's an intangible factor. I can't put my finger on it. It's just the complete package. But EY, you've been there for the bulk of that 20 years. Why has Impact outlasted all those others?
Yeah, I think the number one thing, and Josh kind of touched on this earlier, is it's heart. I've been here a long time, and I've been part of this company in almost every iteration that it's existed under. And I can say now more than ever, but it's always felt like an us versus the world. And the truth is the locker room is especially now in the understanding is Impact Wrestling has to do well if we want to do well. And Josh touched on it saying, it is a singular pursuit and we are all independent contractors and, we have to look out for ourselves because nobody else is going to do that. But there's something about this group of people, office, behind the camera, in front of the camera, that everyone's got their hand. I mean, some people might have their hand on their phone and they're doing other things, but everyone's got at least one hand on the rope and pulling it in the right direction. And I think if you look at the growth of the company over the last 2 or 3 years, it's proof. The proof is in the pudding. And you got to tip your cap to people like Josh and Eddie Edwards and Sammy Callahan and the Lucha Bros. And, the list goes on and on of people that kept this heart pumping when it was on its deathbed. And I'm proud to come back and to be part of that and be part of the resurgence and be part of this forward momentum that we're bringing and celebrating 20 years of this amazing company. It will be a pro wrestling celebration. And if you're a true pro wrestling fan, this pay-per-view will be one that you talk about in 20 years. And I can say, to put my name on the line, that people will talk about this main event match in 20 years from now. And they'll talk about where they were and what they were doing. And this will be something that people talk about for a long, long time. And I'm going to make damn sure of it.
Thank you so much as a fan for an amazing 20 years. It's been truly amazing. And good luck in taking both of you, Impact Wrestling, into adulthood.
Thank you, man. Is he muted?
Yes, he is.
There you go.
I'm unmuted now. I think of you two, and I think of the 20 years, and I think of the long list of great, talented competitors who have competed for the world's championship, and now I add your two names to that. And once again, I can't wait for this Sunday because I think it's going to be off the charts. Let's go over to Sam from Near Falls Radio. Sam, how are you doing? And welcome into the Press Pass.
Thank you for having me. I'm afraid you guys are staying in Scotland a little bit longer with me over here. My question is for Eric. Obviously, you've been here for the majority of the last 20 years. You've been a world champion. You've competed against world champions. How does Josh compare as the current world champion to people you share a locker room with? You can take that as a competitor, as a locker room leader, or as someone that carries the brand.
Yeah, it's a high caliber. You don't end up in that position by accident, and anyone that's done this at any level understands that, and to make it, to be the flag bearer of a company that's seen worldwide, that's, there's big dollars, big responsibility on the line. It doesn't happen by accident. A person that I've known Josh for a long time, and a guy that I've always respected because he's always kind of done things the right way and continues to do so. And he's in a long list of people that have the respect of me and have the respect of wrestling fans because they earned it the hard way. And the list of world champions in Impact is a who's who of pro wrestling. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Abyss, Bobby Lashley, Austin Aries, Bobby Roode. Like, the list is long, and to be a person on that list is something that I can never be taken away from me, and is an honor that I take very seriously. And I know that Josh would say kind of the same thing. And he's in the stage of wanting to cement his legacy. I don't think I'm going to end that, but my plan is to leave Slammiversary June 19th as the world heavyweight champion.
Thank you for your answer, and thank you for having me on the call. Best luck to all of you this Sunday.
Appreciate it.
And Josh, I'll throw it over to you real quick. It has got to be hard to compete against someone that you respect so much, that you grew up near, and you've watched wrestle for a long time. How does it feel for you going in as the world champion, going in against a guy like Eric Young, someone you have so much respect for?
Oh, I don't find it difficult at all because I have that kind of respect for him. Like in 2006, I was a year into my wrestling career. I picked up EY at the airport for a local promoter. He came in for an indie, and I drove him like an hour to this show. And I still remember to this day, I asked him something about wrestling, and he said, "I just wish I was good at something else. This is the only thing I'm good at." You know what I mean? And it resonated with me because that's exactly how I felt the first time I took a bump. I took a bump, and it gave me this instant gratification of everybody telling me how good I was at this and how I was a natural at this and how I needed to keep going. And that's how I built my self-confidence to become a wrestler. Like, I have so much respect for EY because I see a lot of similarities in us, but I also know that EY does the exact same thing I do when he's in the ring. If you look at the past 20 years of his career, anybody's been put in the ring with, he's busted his ass and he's made sure he's delivered every single time. And that's something I've done too, whether by osmosis from watching people like EY or just because I'm a hard-headed person that just doesn't want to, ever quit. But all that respect and everything, it doesn't make it difficult whatsoever. I'm excited for this challenge on Sunday.
When the bell rings, friendships goes out the window. I know that for sure. Let's go down to a person I've known for a long time. Let's go back over here to the United States, go down to a great state and city in Florida, go to Miami. Let's go to Jim Varsalone from the Miami Herald. Jim, how are you doing? And welcome to Press Pass.
Always good to see everybody. D'Lo, keep doing your thing. Just congratulations, everybody. 20 years. It's so amazing. This started out like an idea on a small fishing boat trip. And then if you think about it, it went to weekly pay-per-views instead of TV. They were actually ahead of the game in doing what they were doing because now everyone's doing streaming and pay-per-view types. It's just kudos to everybody there. I'm curious from you guys, what are your thoughts now for the next step for Impact Wrestling to try to get it to another level now after 20 years?
I think it's just the growth over the past few years since I've been here. Like, I've been able to see it with my own eyes. I'm not a businessman. I'm a professional wrestler. And for me to be able to notice these things and the growth and all this other stuff that's happened over the past 3 years, I think it's undeniable that it is in the growth period. And for us, it's just everything we've done like every pay-per-view we have, every app special we have, we knock it out of the park. I'm a wrestling fan first and foremost before I'm a pro wrestler. And when I watch these shows, I don't think there's much in pro wrestling that can compete with the type of quality we've been turning out show after show. So all it is getting in front of more eyes and, you know, retaining those eyes once they are there. And that's not going to be difficult because the show quality is so high.
Yeah, I agree with what Josh is saying. Is, you know, watching these, you know, as a pro wrestling fan, as a person, you know, that's the reason I got into wrestling, because I love it. And minute for minute, this is the best pro wrestling show on television. And that sounds biased because I work here, but it's the truth, and it's what I believe. It's written by pro wrestling fans for pro wrestling fans. You know, to grow it, you know, obviously getting it in front of new people, you know, continuing to push the envelope and continuing to have effort from top to bottom in whatever is given to the people on the roster. The production team has been killing it for a long time. They are undermanned and likely underpaid, and you would never know the difference. You know, it's a cool thing to be part of, but you just want it to grow. And the thing is, it's like, it has that stigma, that you know, that TNA black cloud that it just seems to follow us wherever we go. But I think if people are being truly honest with themselves, and open up their minds and open up their eyes and their hearts and just watch it for what it is, and take any bad experience that maybe you've had seeing it or watching it before, because it's run by different people. It's you know, there's different people working here. It's owned by a different group of people. Nothing against the former you know, management. I worked here when that was going on, and I was proud then. But there's something very special about this group of people in front of the camera and behind the camera. And when you see it and you truly open yourself up to accepting what we're doing, I think people will see it. It's just as simple as that. Is if you really give Impact Wrestling a chance, I believe it will become of your regular viewing, and it should.
Well, thank you all so much. And to get those words from EY and knowing D'Lo's background and Josh Champion, people should check it out if they haven't, because go down the list of talent that has been there and is there now. It's incredible. Thank you all so much. Happy 20.
Thank you, Jim. And I can say full stop, just because I work here, this is not a biased thing, but I believe Impact Wrestling is the best wrestling show on television. And we've heard from the talent and why they do it on the production side. We do it for the same love. We just want this company and this business to do well. And if this company does well, we all do well. I've also been given a bit of information. We have been given and allotted a 10-minute overrun because of the popularity of this podcast right now. We're going to try to get to as many journalists as possible. If we don't get to everyone, I apologize. So let's definitely keep our questions to one, and let's make them as quick as possible, just so we can get as many in. Let's go over to Joey from the Angle Podcast. Joey, welcome into Press Pass, and how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Hope you're having a great day, and happy 20 years to Impact. My question is for EY and also Josh, but also D'Lo, I would love to hear your thoughts as well. This match embodies legacy, comebacks, ultimately opportunity here. What does it mean to the future Impact Wrestling superstars for them to witness this first-time main event celebrating 20 years of Impact?
I mean, I can kick this one off pretty easily. When this company started in 2002, the one thing that I take away from its identity, other than being like the other option for pro wrestling when it first started, was that it was the land of opportunity. This company, you know, it had past stars from other companies that you would recognize, but the thing that really made this company special, I think, was that it gave opportunities to these lesser known people to go out there. They gave you the ball and they said, run. And if you got your touchdown, you got your touchdown. There were so many people that got touchdowns in that time, and you can count them. And I can't count them on two hands. I can't count them on like four hands. You know what I mean? You got AJ Styles, Low-Key, Amazing Red, Eric Young, Bobby Roode. You go over to the Knockouts, the entire Knockouts division when it started up in 2007. Like it's just the land of opportunity. They take chances, and I think now it's the same thing. This main event is a representation. You're looking at two guys in this main event fighting for the richest prize in this company on the biggest show of all time that they've ever had, live on pay-per-view in the main event. And they're two guys that may not have ever gotten opportunity anywhere else. They were just two guys that were given the ball and they did not fumble.
Yeah, I mean, Josh sums it up properly. And I think for me, the big thing, like he said, is the opportunity to do something special. And as a creative person or as a professional, you're not always given that opportunity. And when you are, you better do it. And Josh said, like, he's going to give the same effort, match in and match out. And I think I've proven that I do the exact same thing. And that's why this is going to be special. That's what I believe. If you start with a base of two guys that are willing to do whatever to make it memorable, if you start there, I mean, it's almost impossible to fail. Now, can we fail? For sure. That story still has to be written. But I know I will do everything in my power to make this memorable. I know that Josh will do the same, and I'm willing to bet any amount of money that people will be talking about this in 30 or 40 years. Whether Impact or TNA is still around, and I hope to God it is, but this is going to be something that people are going to remember, and I'm going to make damn sure of it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, and I appreciate your time, and happy 20 years.
I appreciate it, man.
Muted.
This mute kills me here. Let's go over to one of my favorite people. Let's go over to France, and let's go over to one of my favorite members of the media. Bonjour, Stephanie.
Your favorite member of the media. Oh
It's
my God.
My favorite member.
That's why you don't reply to my DMs.
Hey, stop sliding my DMs.
Thank you, hi guys, thank you very much for the press pass. It's very strange to hear about this 20 years thing, etc. Because in France we really had TNA Impact, not all the time. So for me, it's more like it's not like very 20 years for me. It's a little bit different to. The last time it was aired on TV, it was 6 years ago on national television. So it's a bit different. I have a question for Josh, because with all the respect I have for you, Eric, I will give him a little question. I want to bring you back to the last press pass, if you remember, about with Moose, when we were. Was a lot about emotions, and it was telling you that your emotion could be make you lose the match and all those things, and you proved him wrong. But when we see the build-up of the match, like last week, when you needed a flag to stop Joe Doring, do you feel like once again your emotions will be the key of the match?
Maybe not. I think there's a various amounts of unpredictability with Violent by Design being involved in this match. It's not just EY, it's Doring and Diener as well. That's why I requested the match with Doring. I figured I'd go up against the biggest and baddest guy in that group, right away to try to send a message. And, even though the flag got involved, I'm not the one that brought it out, but when it was there, I definitely tried to even the playing field a little bit, and I think I sent a message to all of them, including Joe Doring, that if he messes with me at Slammiversary, the same might occur.
Are you planning to come to the ring with them, Eric?
Oh yeah, we're a family. We don't go anywhere
okay.
alone. That's the whole point of Violent by Design. I don't trust anybody else. And those are the people that I know will have my back. I don't trust Scott D'Amore. I don't trust anybody on the roster. Like, I trust those guys, and they will be there with me for sure.
Thank you, guys, and can't wait for Sunday night. Monday.
I guess Stephanie froze there. Yeah, I think she froze. Anyway, guys, that was a question I was going to ask you. Josh, EY does have Violent by Design. That's got to worry you a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be very lonely out there for me at Slammiversary in the main event, I think. But, you know, I said it earlier, as world champion, the next goal is to go down the history books beside the greats. And the only way I'm going to do that is if I, face the biggest and toughest challenges. I can't shy away from stuff like this. So it is what it is.
Just bring Jet. He's the most badass guy in the building.
Yeah, he'll level the playing field for me.
Definitely. Let's go to our friends over at Sportskeeda in India. What's going on, my man? How you guys doing? And who's your question for?
Hey, everyone. First of all, Dilo, it's an honor to get the opportunity to speak to you. Always been a fan. Sorry, EY, my question will be for Josh. Josh, I wanted to ask you, last year, Slammiversary, you opened the show, X Division champ. And now, in a year span, you are main eventing as the world heavyweight champion. So, would you say that this is a different version of Josh, or is it the same one who defended and retained the title last year?
I mean, certainly there's a part of me that is different, that has grown and learned a little bit and is a little bit wiser than that Josh that opened Slammiversary last year. But the thing that got me to the dance, I think, is just going out there every single time and doing everything I can to get the W and tear it up and make sure that everybody recognizes me as one of the best pro wrestlers in the world. And, that holds true every single time I step in the ring.
Great. Hope to see you retain. In any ways, I know this match will be something everyone should watch. Thank you, guys.
It is amazing if you look back on where you were a year ago, any of us, and from one year to the next, how quickly things can change, how you can open up a show one year and the next year you're in the main event defending the world's championship. Wrestling is just amazing. Let's take ourselves over to Italy. Frank from the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast. Frank, how are you doing? And welcome to Press Pass.
Hello, Dilo. Thank you so much. Hello, DY and Josh. It's always a pleasure to be here with you guys from Impact Wrestling. Since I'm in Italy, I've been rooting for a certain Italian guy called Francesco Akira, who actually has beaten the Impact X Division champion in Japan during the Best of Super Juniors. So I have a quick question for the both of you. Would you mind to tango with him if he ever comes to Impact? And are you familiar at all with his work?
I'm not familiar with his work, but anybody that wants to come over and knock on the door at Impact Wrestling, I'll be the gatekeeper and I'll welcome them here. No problem.
Yeah, I'm the same with Josh, as I'm unfamiliar. I don't watch a ton of wrestling, so that shouldn't surprise anybody, unless it's mid-South 1983. But as far as the opportunity is, that's what wrestling's about. It is meeting these new people and testing yourself against the best. And obviously, he's caught your eye, and if he's working for New Japan, he's obviously a very talented guy. So. Same as Josh, I would, jump at the opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dilo. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's one of the good things about Impact Wrestling is if there's talent out there, Impact will find you and they will give you an opportunity, and then the rest is up to you to run with the ball. Let's go over to Craig from One Stop Wrestling. Craig, welcome to Press Pass. What's your question?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. Obviously, we're celebrating 20 years of Impact and TNA this weekend. My question is to both of you. Who do you consider the overall MVP of TNA / Impact Wrestling for the first 20 years?
Go ahead, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that you could mention. I think AJ Styles would be right at the top of my list. But I think, above and beyond that is Jeff Jarrett, without his backing and without his vision and his work ethic, this place probably doesn't exist, and that's just the reality of it. And a guy that, brought in all these mega talents and wrestled these guys and traveled the world and was the flag bearer for this company for a long, long time. A person that goes unheralded because you never really saw him in the ring. But Jeremy Borash is a person that if you worked here, from 2003 to 2012, you're well aware that this place would have crumbled without him. I mean, it's just the reality, self-made, self-taught, and editing and shooting, and a tireless worker and a passionate pro wrestling fan and pro wrestling professional, still, doing amazing things today. But he's an unsung hero. I mean, I know that Josh knows of him. I know that D'Lo worked with him, hand in hand like I did. Definitely unsung hero was Jeremy Borash. But if I was to pick one person most influential, I don't think you could pick anybody other than Jeff for a bunch of reasons.
And not to disagree with you, I'm not familiar with Jeff Jarrett or Jeremy Borash. I've only heard the legends. As a fan that grew up for the first decade of this company, really, I would have to say AJ Styles. I think he embodies everything. I think if you see him, the first thing you think of is TNA, and that's because, he built himself up in this brand and built the brand up with him.
Thank you so much, guys. Best of luck for the weekend. Thank you for having me.
As someone who spans multiple generation incarnations here in Impact and TNA, look, you can't go wrong with Jeff Jarrett. You can't go wrong with Jeremy Borash. You can't go wrong with AJ Styles. They all represent the best of what this company is, was, and will be. Let's go over to George from What Do You Call It podcast. George, what's going on, man?
Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well today. I'm looking forward to the pay-per-view. I think you both spoke to me before. I am who I am. D'Lo, awesome. But I just want to ask quickly, what would be your favourite Slammiversary moment that you were both involved in?
I mean, for me, the Slammiversary winning the first world title against Magnus Nick Aldis. You always remember your first. It's just, it's just such a massive part of my career, and the first time winning it and being world champion, coming back through the curtain, and as I'm sure Josh had, all your peers and people that work backstage and other wrestlers standing there and clapping and congratulating. This is something I will never forget. And my mom has since passed away, but coming home after that weekend of tapings, and she was visiting me in Nashville, and I just posted a thing on Facebook about it, and the getting to hand her the world title and take a picture with her, and just like this smile on her face, that it's something that pops up once a year, that picture, and it's something that's very, very special to me. More special than winning it, more special than coming back and having the admiration of your peers, the support of your mother. You set out on this at 17 years old, like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I'm a dumpy, fat, short kid from Southwestern Ontario that's never done anything in his life. She supported me the whole way, and being able to hand that to her and say, like, I'm at the pinnacle of the sport. And it's amazing, man. That for me is my number one.
That's awesome, mate. Thank you for sharing that. And Josh?
I mean, I have less Slammiversaries under my belt than EY. This will be my fourth one this Sunday, and I have to go with the one last year. I wanted to check Ultimate X off my bucket list since I was a 15-year-old kid, then saw that concept for the first time. I think it's the most innovative match that's been created in all of pro wrestling history. I think there's still so much that is left to be able to be done. And not only that, it was the return of live crowds to Impact Wrestling, and I got to kick it off with the opening match. So it was the first match in front of a crowd, and it's, I was just happy when the match was over. If I never do another one, I'll be okay with that. I got to check it off the bucket list, but I got to retain the X Division Championship in front of that live crowd for the first time after the lengthy pandemic, and that was awesome.
That's awesome. Well, hope to speak to you guys again. But for now, Slammiversary this weekend. Let's do it.
Awesome answers, guys. All right, let's go over to our last question of Press Pass. Let's go over to Justin from the Pro Wrestling Show. Justin, welcome in to Press Pass.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, gentlemen. I changed my tune on the question. It's very apparent the love and respect that you have for each other. I wanna change that. How much does the Impact World Title raise that bar? How much do you throw out the love and respect? And is this the match that you guys are both willing to sell out and do anything to have that Impact World Championship?
Yeah, I'll start. Yeah, I'll start. I think I'm like Josh, is I'm willing to sell it and do whatever, and I don't want this to be lost. Like me and Josh obviously have a healthy respect. We've crossed paths on several occasions. We work at the same company, but I'm not afraid to hurt him to take what I want, and I know that he will do the same. And he's got a family and kids, and he loves them. I don't have that. Wrestling is my life. It's the first thing that I loved. It's the only thing that I love. And being the world champion is what I desire more than anything in the world. And I'm not taking anything from him. I know that it means the world to him, and I would be a fool to think anything different. But my plan, and things usually go the way I want, I will leave June 19th as the world champion, because that's what I want more than anything on earth.
My whole story has been about adversity and everything over the years, whether it be injury or circumstance or anything. And then even in big matches, I've always been kind of the underdog going into most of these matches, even most recently the one with Moose. And the thing that always carries me through is my heart and my passion, and it's because of this obsession for pro wrestling. And that's where the respect between myself and EY is. We both have one of the most insane obsessions for pro wrestling, and it shows in our work ethic and the way we carry ourselves as professionals. But when we're in there in that ring, one-on-one, the respect doesn't go out the window, but it certainly doesn't matter as much, because as much as pro wrestling is what it is, I'm a maniac and I'm very competitive, and I think that's one thing that has set me apart my entire career, and that's going to be no different at Slammiversary.
All right, thank you. Kill it this weekend, boys. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. And as we come to the end of this press pass, I'm just going to give you both of you just a second for a closing thought going into Slammiversary 20. Slammiversary, the 20th anniversary, World Heavyweight Championship match. EY, go.
I mean, for me, it comes down to the power and control of being the world champion. That's what I crave. This is the reason I got into wrestling. This is the reason I still love it. This is the reason I still push myself at an accelerated age. This is my whole reason for living. I crave the responsibility. I crave the pressure. And I can say this honestly, without a doubt in my mind, you will regret if you don't watch this pay-per-view. You will regret if you don't see this match. You will forget everything else that you know or think about this company. And respect for me, respect for Josh, and respect for Impact is something that we will earn. And I know both for Josh and for myself, there will be no question that at the end of June 19th that you watched and witnessed something special and something that you have no choice, but you will want to be part of going forward.
Yeah, and for me, I think that both myself and EY have two different things to prove. I have to prove that I belong as a world champion, as a figurehead of a company. I need to do that by going out there against people who have done it all, like EY, people that have recognition around the world as being championship material. Like that's the thing that weighs on me. That's what I have to prove to the world. I think EY, whether you want to admit it or not, you have to prove that you have not peaked in your career and you're not on the downside of that other side of the slope. You said you're an accelerated age and all this stuff. I'm not taking anything away from you athletically. You're coming off that knee injury last year, and you definitely have something to prove there. And I know that coming into that, I know what I have to deal with that, because I know you're as crazy as I am. And both of us collectively, we need to prove in that main event that Impact Wrestling is the very best wrestling on planet Earth. And I don't doubt we're going to do that. I completely wholeheartedly agree that everybody will regret not watching this match live, not being a part of it live, because it is going to be something special because of those things that we have to prove that fuel us.
Well, Josh and EY, I will tell you on a personal level, I enjoy working with both of you. I enjoy the time I get to spend with you. I consider myself lucky, and I cannot wait till this Sunday to watch these worlds collide for the World's Championship in the main event at Slammiversary. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, panelists, for being here on Press Pass. Again, check your local provider. Slammiversary this Sunday. If you don't watch it, that's a you problem, not a me problem. Talk to you later.